In sports analysis, there's this constant battle, right? On one side, you've got pure data, spreadsheets, and models. And on the other, you have the absolute chaos of human emotion, screaming crowds, and even the weather. So what happens when those two things smash into each other? That's one of the biggest challenges in the game, and that's what we're going to break down today. It really all boils down to this one question. How do you analyze a game when the numbers seem to be lying to you? When your spreadsheet says one thing, but the gut feeling you get from the stadium, from the atmosphere, tells you something completely different. Which one do you trust? And maybe more importantly, how do you even start to build a model that can see both sides of the story? So to figure this out, we're going to look at two very, very different matches. One is just a total storm. It's emotional, it's volatile, it's loud. The other, it's the calm. It's tactical, controlled, almost like a chess match. Each one gives us a totally unique puzzle to solve. All right, let's dive right into our first case study, what we're calling the storm. We're heading to Elland Road, home of Leeds United, a place where the environment isn't just a backdrop. No, it's an active player in the game. So, what makes a stadium like this so incredibly tricky to get a handle on? Well, it's what analysts call a high-variance venue. And as you can see, that just means it factors outside of pure football skill. The roaring crowd, the driving rain, raw emotion. They can crank up the unpredictability of a match to a whole new level. Now, if we just look at the raw numbers, the story seems pretty simple. Using a standard measure of team strength, the ELO rating system, Crystal Palace has a pretty comfortable 50-point lead. On paper, that's a really meaningful gap. It points to a clear favorite. But this quote, man, this just nails it perfectly. The on-paper analysis is fine, sure. But when you're talking about Elland Road paper, well, that thing is already soaked through. The context, the sheer intensity of that place, it just threatens to wash the whole analysis away. And you can actually see the analytical models reacting to that chaos. Instead of pointing to a clear winner, the odds just flatten out. All three outcomes are pretty much neck and neck. This is a phenomenon called draw compression. The system is basically throwing its hands up and saying, look, Palace might be the better team, but this place is so nuts that literally anything could happen. And this quote right here gets to the absolute core of it. The analysis suggests that the first goal is like a trigger. If Leeds can manage to score first, that crowd will erupt and the energy could completely change the game. It stops being about tactics and it becomes a problem of pure chaotic physics. Now, this whole idea of a hostile environment, it's not just about pressure from the outside. It can actually get inside a team's head and infect them from within. And there's this fascinating story from a legendary Leeds team of the past that shows this kind of pressure is definitely nothing new. Okay, so you have to go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. Leeds had this ridiculously talented young squad. I mean, they were chasing titles. But that ambition kind of soured and turned into paranoia. The coaching staff got completely convinced that rival teams were sending spies to watch their training sessions. And this obsession led them straight into a nosedive of underperformance. The team just totally lost itself. And their reaction was, well, it was a masterclass in how to sabotage yourself. They started by closing off all their training sessions. Then, they had staff literally watching the bushes for spies. It gets crazier. They even started running fake drills to throw off these imaginary spies, which of course just ended up confusing their own players and destroying the team's free-flowing identity. And here is the big lesson, right? Football doesn't reward paranoia, it punishes it. By trying to outsmart these enemies that probably weren't even there, they ended up completely outsmarting themselves. It just goes to show you that overthinking and fear can be just as deadly as any opponent on the pitch. Okay, so let's pump the brakes on all that chaos and pivot completely. We're going from the loud, crazy storm of Leeds to the quiet, controlled environment at Molineux Stadium for our second case study, the calm. So here, the puzzle for an analyst isn't a roaring crowd. It's something much quieter. The AI models are disagreeing with each other. You see, the standard models, like ELO, they give a slight edge to the away team, Brentford. But a more advanced model, an artificial neural network, is leaning hard in the other direction, saying the home team, Wolves, should have it. So, what gives? To really get why they disagree, we've got to understand what an AN actually is. See, unlike a standard model that just follows a set of pre-programmed rules, an AN is a learning system. It's built to find and weigh all these subtle little patterns that the simpler models might just miss completely. So what is this smarter AI seeing that the others aren't? Well, it's picking up on all these nuanced little details. Things like how good wolves are at controlling the pace of the game when they're at home. It's factoring in Brentford's potential fatigue, the typically slower tempo of an early kickoff, and even how the weather might mess with Brentford's signature high-energy pressing style. So, what this all means is that the ANN's analysis isn't pointing to some wild back-and-forth shootout. Nope. It's predicting a grind, a tight tactical match where the winner won't be the team that creates a bunch of fireworks, but the one that can best contain its opponent and control the flow of the game.
All right, so we've been through the storm and we've been through the calm. After looking at these two totally different matches, what does this all teach us about doing smart, responsible analysis?
At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. You have to recognize what kind of game you're analyzing. In the Leeds match, the storm, the key factor was emotional volatility. The models showed us that withdraw compression, and the right strategy was to protect yourself against that chaos. But in the Wolves match, the calm, it was all about tactical control. The models gave us conflicting signals, and the right move was to trust the deeper patterns that the more advanced AI found. And that really leaves us with one final, crucial question that you have to ask yourself in any kind of analysis. Are you just seeing patterns in the data? Or are you digging deeper and understanding the context behind them? Because the real challenge, the real art, is moving past the numbers to truly see the game itself. Thanks for tuning in.